Noyal has become a dumping ground for all wastewaters.
As long as humans are interested in wearing clothes, this business will exist.
I love to go shopping.
இந்தியாவிலே பனியன் தயாரிப்பு திருப்பூர்ல மட்டும் தான், வேற எங்கேயும் கிடையாது.
பெஸ்ட் குவாலிட்டி கல்யாணம் எல்லாம் நல்ல இருக்கு.
How did our desire to be fashionable turn this one sleepy town and its sacred river into a toxic environmental nightmare? If you've ever worn Gap or H&M or Victoria's Secret with a Made in India label, this is probably where it came from. Tirupur, on the banks of the river Noyal, is a city in southern India. Up to 90% of the country's cotton textile exports and more than half its knitwear exports originate here. The global retailers that source clothes here are usually large Western corporations. Yep, it's all the major American and European brands. But Tirupur is now also famous for the state of its river. This is not a river, it's a drain. These reviews are bang on. This once sacred river smells so bad and is so full of chemicals that it's frothing. So how did things turn out like this? Just a few decades ago, Tirupur was almost entirely farmland, growing primarily cotton. So when small textile factories began to set up here in the late 1970s, farmers gave up their livelihood and joined the trend. Like Kumar Duraiswamy, who runs a garment factory in South Tirupur and has seen the city transform.
The small village now has turned into a city, a district headquarters, and we are employing about more than 1.5 million people directly and indirectly. See, any country like India with so much of dense population, we really need industries.
The textile industry here is what is called a cluster. Around 1,000 small to mid-sized independent garment factories like Duraiswamy's exist alongside dyeing, bleaching and embroidery units. Together, they bring in a revenue of 250 billion rupees or almost 3 billion euros a year. Industrial scale textile parks have also been set up, but it's the small to mid-sized facilities that make up the majority.
When I started, yes, we not only myself, none of us know that there will be so much of impact as far as the pollution is concerned. At one stage, we got to know that we are really spoiling the environment. Toxic chemicals are used and these are being drained into the river.
Noyal is 180 kilometers in length and has long been considered sacred as it nourishes the region and sustains at least 2 million people before draining into the famous river Kaveri. As the Noyal flows through the growing cities though, it gets choked with household and plastic waste. But the most harmful pollutants enter the river near the industrial cluster. A 2020 study found high levels of copper, zinc, lead, and other carcinogenic metals in the water that could leave long-term effects on the land, local people, and livestock. This is the water that goes to people's fields. People use it for drinking, for bathing. Yeah, that's not clean. In 2011, the State High Court stepped in, mandating all manufacturers to set up wastewater treatment plants. Most have complied, but activists say many manufacturers who can't afford to clean up their chemical waste continue to dispose of it illegally, sometimes under the cover of darkness or in areas that are too remote for constant monitoring. Prithviraj Sinnathambi was one of the activists who convinced the court to take action. But he says the burden of cleaning up this waste can't only fall on the little guys.
This dyeing and bleaching doesn't exist in developed countries because they don't want to pollute their water. If somebody raises the issues of pollution in Europe or in North America, people will suddenly there will be a knee-jerk reaction from the corporation. Then they'll say, no, we are not sourcing from here, we'll source from Bangladesh, as if everything is fine there. Or they'll say, we'll source it from Vietnam, or we'll source it from China. That attitude is not ethical.
He says that developed countries are outsourcing their pollution, and the social consequences of this extend well beyond this city.
Brunt of the impact of the environmental pollution has been faced by the farmers and agricultural communities. Basically, they lost their fertility of their soil, they lost their cattle, they lost their groundwater resources, and ultimately their income has gone down. And within a few years, they lost everything.
Downriver, near one of the 2 dams on the Noyal, is where the impact of this is most severe. I paid a visit to Oruthupalayam Dam, which has been polluted for decades. There's a report of over 800,000 fish dying here in just a single day. That was over 15 years ago when the floodgates were opened. But even today, the water is polluted. The reservoir is blanketed in water hyacinth plants, indicators of heavy metal pollution. They also choke the entire river system below. 3 farmers who were on their morning walk on the dam approached me and began describing what had happened to the river they'd grown up beside.
ஒரு 17 வயசுல அள்ளி குடிக்கலாம். இது வந்து 30 வருஷம் 35 வருஷம் இதே தானுங்க.
வந்து நிறைய பேருக்கு வேலை கிடைக்குங்கறாங்க. வேலை கிடைச்சன இத்தனை தண்ணி வருஷம் 300 எத்தனை டிடிஸ் தண்ணி வேஸ்ட் ஆகுது. இது என்ன ஸ்கை சொல்றாங்க கண்ணு சேல்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு என்ன சொல்றது படா ப்ளீம் வாங்குறது.
One of the farmers, Devraj, invited us back to his home. He used to live here as a subsistence farmer. But over the past 20 years, things have changed dramatically here.
அப்போ பருத்தி, நெல், கரும்பு, சோளம் எல்லாமே எல்லா விவசாயமும் வருங்க. அந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு இருந்தது. இப்போ வந்து அந்த மாதிரி விவசாயம் வந்து அந்த தண்ணினால வராது. இப்போ எதுவுமே பண்றது இல்லை. தென்னை மரம் மட்டும் தான் இருக்குது.
He says though that the yield of his coconut trees has dropped by at least 30% because of the water. So now he imports coconuts from other Indian states and hires laborers to break and dry them before he sells the parts, mainly to the coconut oil industry.
இது வந்து மார்க்கெட்டில் வந்து உலக லெவலில் வந்து மார்க்கெட்டில் வந்து தேங்காய் ஆயிலுங்கிறது வந்து ஒரு ஃபேமஸான நல்ல தேங்காய் எண்ணெய் நல்ல எண்ணெய் பிஸ்னஸ் எவ்வளோதான் நீங்கள் வந்து நம்ம வருமானம் பண்ணி நம்ம வந்து தேங்காய் உடைச்சி லாபம் நட்டம் பார்த்து எல்லாம் பண்ணாலும் எங்களுக்கு தண்ணி வந்து மெயின் வேணும். இப்போதைக்கு இருக்குது, காசு இருக்குது, வாரம் வச்சுக்கிறோம், மாட்டிக்கிறோம், போய் கொண்டு வரோம். போதுமான அளவுக்கு நம்ம எதிர்கால சன்னதிக்கு வந்து அடுத்த தலைமுறைக்கு வந்து இப்போ நம்ம தலைமுறையில் வந்து தண்ணி கெட்டு போச்சு, நம்ம பசங்களை தலைமுறை வந்து எப்படி இருக்குது, இன்னும் பொல்யூஷன் பிரச்சனை வச்சா.
Since the court order, more than 100 treatment plants have been established. Some are in individual factories. Others are common treatment plants which treat wastewater from several small-scale facilities. More than 1 billion liters of water are treated here every day. The government subsidizes a large part of the operating costs. I visited a common treatment plant where 18 small dyeing units send their wastewater for treatment. I can't believe this used to go straight into the river at some point. The small dyeing operations do have to pay a part of the treatment fee, and they still need to stay competitive. Many have seen a steep drop in their profit margins, sometimes down by 15%. So many of the facilities have moved out of Tirupur, either to other states or even just beyond the district border where the court's rule doesn't apply. The number of dyeing units in Tirupur has declined from over 700 at its peak to around 400 at the moment. The district has taken a financial hit, even as the Noyal has become somewhat cleaner. I'm going up to the source of the river, which is inside a protected forest, to see what this river looks like in its original form. Just a 50-minute drive from the easternmost city on the river, the landscape is completely different. I can't believe it's the same river. It's so clear, I'm going to drink it. Ooh, that's fresh. I wondered about the future of this river and the many stakeholders involved. Shouldn't corporations that source their products from the area bear a greater share of the financial burden? Could the state be more vigilant? And why don't legal requirements apply across the entire country? The river downstream could one day become some version of this. But with the burden falling on a small number of people in a long chain, is this going to become a case where history repeats itself on another river and in another place? And this is already happening. Industrial hubs are being set up across South India, inviting more small businesses to develop small towns. So do I want new clothes? Yes. But after seeing what my clothes are doing to this river and all the systems it supports, I wonder if it's not mine and our collective responsibility to make sure that this doesn't result in the destruction of all of this. What do you think can and should be done against pollution like this? Post your comments below and don't forget to subscribe for more of our videos.